This is a Flying Cow production.
Book 1, Water. Book 2, Earth. Book 3, Fire. Long ago, Nickelodeon introduced a series called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It combined great anime-style animation, strong storytelling, heart, and humor. It was great, and everyone that saw it loved it. Until one day, a terrible movie came out which everyone hated. But my co-host Loren Collins knows none of this because he's never seen the show. And that's why we are watching every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I believe this could be Loren's new favorite show. Or at least top 20. Well, hello, and welcome back to our Avatar recap episode, Comets and Cabbages, here on the Flying Cow Network. That's right. I, of course, am your host, the Flying Cow himself, Clay Johnson. And yeah, I'm looking at Amanda right now. Big fan of Appa. Big fan of Appa.
Appa and I can't wait to talk about some more Avatar.
All right. And what is your name?
Amanda Van Heil.
And Loren Collins. And we'll dive into another one here.
All right. Yes, we are continuing our discussion of these episodes so far. I will say there is something that I have intended to be asking at the end of every episode. We'll definitely do it here, but I want to go ahead and ask, because the premise of this show is to kind of introduce Loren to this show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's important to know where we are because the goal is to see if maybe this can be one of Loren's new favorite shows. So, Loren, this episode not included, is this your new favorite show yet?
No, I'm afraid so far, Clay, this is not my new favorite show. And it's got a bit of a road ahead of it if it wants to do that.
Sure. And I'm getting, so it's not top 10, not top 20. Is it in the top 100 yet?
Top 100 after the first three
after the first two episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the no there.
Okay. All right. Just want to keep everyone apprised as to where we are.
Top 1,000. It's probably safely in the top 1,000.
Okay. That's
shows I've seen.
Maybe not saying a whole lot, but
yeah. Are we at least at the top 500 though?
top 500 of shows I've seen. Perhaps yes.
All right. Progress.
Because he's only seen 600.
It's
all right.
The Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer, but
all right. Well, like I said, this is our third episode. We are, depending on your numbering, reviewing the third or fourth episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are talking today about the Warriors of Kyoshi. It debuted in March 4th, 2005. It was directed by Giancarlo Volpe and written by Nick Malice. And this episode is basically introducing us to, like we said, kind of the expanding world of Avatar. We are introduced to, for the first time, to another one of Aang's past incarnations, Avatar Kyoshi, who I don't think it's explicitly said in this episode, but I think it's not a big deal to reveal that Avatar Kyoshi was actually the Avatar right before Avatar Roku. We don't, meet Kyoshi or anything like that in this episode. I mean, she's been dead at this point. But we do go to an island that is not only named after Kyoshi, but is where she was born. This is, you know, a big kind of dive into that part of the mythology, and also kind of Aang's, slightly Aang's relationship to it, but it definitely that takes a bit of a detour into other things. Yeah, so talking about this episode today, just basic thoughts, not diving too deep into it yet. What were you guys' just kind of preliminary thoughts on this episode?
I really enjoy this one because it brings in a new character who is one of my favorites of the series.
Okay. All right.
For me, I was underwhelmed by this one. Of the 3 episodes we've watched after the pilot, this was my least favorite of them. It took me about 3 times to get through it without falling asleep. Honestly.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it largely just felt like the most kiddie Nickelodeon of the 3 in some way. Just yeah, I can say more about why, I suppose, later.
Yeah,
but
we'll get into it, obviously. I will say I'm actually on the exact opposite of you, Loren. This was actually my favorite of the ones that we have watched so far. Yeah, partially for some of the things that Amanda mentioned, we get a really interesting new character here, there's just some things that start to evolve. I suppose we can say. But just to kind of jump into the episode, at the end of the first episode, Aang mentioned that there were a few things that he wanted to do on their way to the Northern Water Tribe. We obviously saw that the first place that they went in the last episode was the Southern Air Temple. That makes sense. That was him going back home, him kind of seeing for himself what has happened to the airbenders, that kind of thing. But now we are in full Aang just being a tourist mode. And I will say, I wish I'd clipped it out, but they show a map at the beginning of this episode. And it looks like, I mean, you know, it's never really stated, you know, how long it's been or anything like that. But based on this map, it looks like they could have actually already been to the Northern Water Tribe by now, because it looks like they have hopped all over from like the westernmost part to the easternmost part of this land, wherever it is that they live. They've just been bouncing around. I'm just like, okay, how in the world does it take the majority of book 1 for them to get to the Northern Water Temple if they've already gone this far in the 3rd episode?
Bathroom breaks, whole lot of them.
Aang has a lot of different kinds of animals to ride.
Yeah, I'm just like, man, you guys are like, I could never take a road trip with Aang because I'm very much about, you know, we can maybe see a couple of things here and there, but for the most part, I want to get from point A to point B.
Yep.
You know,
that's me.
You know, if there's some good food, sure, let's stop and take time for some good food.
Yep.
But I am not going to, on my way to let's say Maine, I'm not going to be stopping in Utah, which is basically, you know, we're in Atlanta. That's, you know, from South Pole to North Pole. If I went from Atlanta to Maine, that would be similar.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, probably not as far, but yeah, they've got them going to the furthest eastern and westernmost areas. That really would be like taking a detour to Utah on your way to Maine from Georgia. It's like, what in the world are you guys doing?
Aang is the master of the 4 elements, not of geography.
No. No,
and
like, I'm just...
I do like Amanda's theory, though, because if the pilot established anything with the one scene you didn't like, the moment you didn't like so much, Clay, is that Aang takes really, really long bathroom breaks. And so that's clearly what's tying them up on this. It's just lots of stops for...
Well, you know, he was in that iceberg for years. Yeah, exactly. It's not just that one.
Messed him up.
He's just his
still
bladder apparently
has
expanded. Yes. He really needs to take his time. Which means that this trip is taking even longer.
Yep.
But yeah, so he has finally, now I will say, you know, in that episode, he mentioned like the hog monkeys and the what else was, the hopping llamas and the koi fish. Now, we don't see the hog monkeys or the hopping llamas here, but we do see this is where he wants to ride the giant koi fish, is right off of this island. At this point, they have not revealed the name of this island, but they go to this island, and I will say on their way, we are once again introduced to you know, another unfortunately dominant trait of the character of Sokka, which to this point, the 2 things we know about him is he likes to eat and he's a sexist asshole. Because you know, they are talking, I can't remember exactly what brings it up, but he just mentioned, does
that have to do with the pants?
Yeah, it's the pants thing.
Okay.
Basically, Aang is trying to show Katara and that's another thing that we are kind of, I mean, it kind of came up in the first episode, but we're really confronted in this episode with Aang really just wanting to get Katara's attention. That's really Aang's whole plot in this episode, is trying to get Katara's attention. And I mean, you could say that it's partially just a young kid trying to get his friend's attention, but I think that there's more to it than that. Even this early on. I think
12 years old, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely seeing, you know, that he's got an interest in Katara, to the point where he's willing to make really stupid decisions just to try to get her to, you know, give him some sort of reaction. But yes, early on, he's, you know, doing little airbender tricks and trying to get her to watch him. And Sokka is like, leave her alone. You have to leave girls alone when they're sewing. And she's just like, okay, this like isn't my job. I'm doing this because you need this done and I'm nice. And of course, Sokka has to make it a big thing. No, this is what girls do. Blah, 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 blah. And boys are better at hunting and fishing and fun stuff. Yeah, so real messed up stuff. And, you know, Katara's like, oh yeah, you're right. Look at what a great job I did. And of course, you know, the pants still have great big holes in them, which, you know, Sokka is like, I can't use these pants, which causes Aang to make this comment.
Relax, Sokka. Where we're going, you won't need any pants.
It's,
I remember that.
To put into a children's series.
Okay. You know, I get they were going with some Back to the Future reference there.
I was about to say, see, honestly, that really just makes me like think of the Back to the Future line in a completely different way. Doc, you really need to bring a bigger suitcase, or you're not going to have enough room for pants.
We're going, Marty.
We're going. You don't need pants. Although that does really add to the creep factor that a lot of people have brought up with that movie. Yeah, I thought
that was to that effect years ago where it was taking like movie quotes and you had to substitute in the word pants.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When Dan and I first met, like we were playing the Star Wars pants game.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because my favorite version of that was, which was hard to beat, which was put Captain Solo.
I was about to say, is it the Captain Solo cargo pants one? Yes.
Fun. But yeah, so apparently you don't need to wear pants where they're going. I thought he was just 12, but yeah. He's got some ideas already. But yes, like I said, they get to the island and Aang does immediately ride the giant koi. And I just assumed that, you know, the others would be taking part in these like fun little adventures. But they are pleased to just stand on the shore and watch him. And I mean, I will also say it's in this episode that I noticed that Sokka and Katara are still wearing like their parkas basically from the South Pole. They are still like wearing furs and crap like that. And like it made sense in the last episode with the Southern Air Temple because there's snow on the ground.
Yeah. And you're up higher elevation, is going to be cold.
But they're at an island now. And I mean, Aang does mention that the water is cold, but it's at least warm enough that he's able to do this at all. I'm like, did you guys just not bring a change of clothes? Like, are you guys dying in your parkas? Because I will say later on, they do debulk and they do have less, you know, fur-lined versions of their water tribe outfits.
Right.
But at this point, they're still in full parkas. And I'm just like, they have got to be sweating up a storm.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't have a lot of...
You know what? That's why they didn't go swimming. They already are.
Yeah.
There we go.
They just don't have a lot of non-winter clothes, and Katara hasn't had the time to make them as the girl.
No, apparently not. Yeah, because since she's a girl, she's the only one that can.
Yeah. Sokka can't do it.
No. I believe.
Yeah,
I really would not want Sokka to make my pants.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, so they are, you know, Aang is riding the giant koi. While he's riding the giant koi, they encounter a sea monster, which I believe they end up calling the unagi.
Yeah, because it's Japanese for eel.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right. So yes, which Aang does like get chased by. And I will say, and I really wanted to load the GIF, but apparently it's too big. There is a sequence here, and we have mentioned that, you know, a lot of the, you know, this was very heavily inspired by anime and anime tropes. And every once in a while, they will throw in a like straight up just anime thing. And there is a GIF of Aang in this running, where he's running on the water from the unagi, and the art in that is, I mean, it's so just straight up anime. It's like, you know, exaggerated and ridiculous. It's crazy. This image. But yeah, I mean, do you guys remember seeing that image at all?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very weird and exaggerated. Honestly, it's probably a good thing you don't remember it, Loren, because it strikes me as one of those things that really would have bothered you.
Oh, it bothered me a second ago when you played that clip of Aang talking about pants, and like his mouth did not match his words at all. It's,
I mean,
for an English language cartoon, that was really bad.
But yeah, I mean, I will say, I have just dropped the GIF in our Facebook chat. Okay. If you guys want to take a look at that. But yeah, it's very exaggerated. It's very, you know, and also Aang looks ripped in it. I'm just gonna say, it is a completely different look.
That is a true anime moment.
Yeah, straight up.
He seems to have lost his hands in some of these frames.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, but like I said, you know, he gets back to the shore. They are immediately, though, set upon by a group of warriors. They are bound, gagged, and the next thing that we see, they are tied up to a wooden post, and basically they are being interrogated. You know, who are you? What are you doing? And I will say it's mostly the voice of young women. And Sokka, of course, assumes it could not be these young women.
They can't fight.
No, that stopped us. So he's like, where are the men that attacked you? And they're just like, what? There were no men. What are you talking about, Sokka? Yeah, you know, like I said, Sokka spends at least a good half of this episode with his foot wedged firmly in his mouth. Yeah, apparently he just really likes the taste of it. Because he keeps walking into this situation, but eventually they find out that they are on Kyoshi Island, and Aang reveals to them that he is the Avatar that you know, they basically have a connection to this island, and they decide to, you know, basically welcome the Avatar and his friends to their society. You know, Sokka's sexism aside.
It's a good learning opportunity for Sokka.
Yeah. I mean, I will say there's an exchange here while Sokka is putting his foot in his mouth, where they immediately start to threaten them. And Katara makes her apologies.
My brother's just an idiot sometimes.
Yeah, it pretty much sums up Sokka in this moment. No, he's just being a big idiot.
Yep.
But yeah, so like I said, they are, you know, now welcomed into the village, and Aang starts to discover that he is kind of a celebrity among these people. I mean, really, this is the first, aside from, you know, the Water Tribe village, this is the first group of people that he has revealed himself to as the Avatar. And I suppose he felt safe to do so because this entire island is named for Kyoshi, and they kind of honor her and the you know, her heritage and all of that stuff. I mean, it's not made it's not brought up a lot, but if you pay attention, the statue of Avatar Kyoshi that they show is wearing the same uniform and makeup as the Kyoshi warriors, the young women who are basically the warriors, the military, the protection of this island. And so you know, Aang starts to, you know, he starts to let the celebrity go to his head a bit. And I will say, I'm sorry, what was that?
He shows off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But again, as much attention as he's getting from these other girls, the attention he really wants is from Katara. And he keeps upping the stakes, trying to get Katara to hang out. But Katara is just like, look, I don't want to hang out with you and your groupies, you know, which is understandable. And you know, like I said, it causes you know, there are some montages of Aang, you know, kind of hanging out with this village and these girls. And I will say, I think my favorite part of the montage is the guy that's trying to paint their portrait.
Oh yeah.
And every time he looks down to draw,
He's got,
more
like, another
girls are
groupie up
added.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he keeps trying to add them in, and eventually it's like half the village, and he's just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not drawing this. We're good.
Nope, I
Can
like
you
that.
imagine being 12 years old and essentially the entire village just like
Yeah, it's
fanning over
I
you?
mean, yeah, I mean we see it with you know, young celebrities. I mean, I think he was a little older, but Justin Bieber would
Yeah.
be kind of an analog to this. And you know, we see the issues he's had.
Yeah,
So
Justin Bieber is the I'm sorry, Aang is the Justin Bieber of Kyoshi Island.
at
Oh,
this
God.
point. But yeah, so you know, like I said, you know, Aang is getting all of this attention, but the person he really wants to pay attention to him is Katara, and Katara actually like is with them at first, but the more that you know, the more that she sees that this is just kind of an ego trip for Aang, the less she's interested in it. In fact, she keeps trying to talk Aang into, you know, it's probably not a good idea with Zuko after us for us to stay in one place too long. I will say, like I always thought that they'd been there for a couple of days. Apparently, it had only been like one day.
Oh,
And it already was, you know, by the end of the episode, Zuko is already after them. So it was even quicker than I thought. So they definitely need to keep moving if he catches up with them in a day. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But yeah,
Zuko's just right on their heels to be there, you know, there that quickly then.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially, I mean, we'll talk more, like I said, about you know, Zuko's half of the episode.
Yeah.
But
He
you know,
must
we
be very
see
frustrated by them bopping all over the map then. That's just
oh yeah.
aggravating him.
I mean, I will say, you know, I mean, I guess let's go ahead and let's talk a bit about Zuko's thing now, because he is introduced in this episode. He's like meditating. And, you know, Iroh knows that he's not going to be happy with the news he has to give him. And, you know, Iroh's just like, you know, hey, I got some news for you. I don't want to upset you. And Zuko's like, Uncle, I'm good. Anything you can say, I'm all right. And all Iroh says is, we don't know where he is. And Zuko flips the fuck out. I'm just like, I cannot imagine how you would have reacted if he had said, oh, Zhao captured him, or oh, he's you know, taken over the Fire Nation, or anything, you know, actually more you know, had with more stakes. It's more just, we don't know where he is. What do you mean you don't know where he is? Okay. Yeah. You thought you were good. You still got that hair trigger, bud. But yeah, so they are we are introduced, like I said, there are a couple of different montages in this episode. And we're introduced, there's a montage where we literally show kind of the word of mouth of, you know, somebody sees him on Kyoshi Island, and it goes like from trader to trader till eventually it gets back to Zuko at his dinner table, finding out that the Avatar is on Kyoshi Island. Which I will say there was a fun bit there where immediately Zuko is like, well, let's go after him. And he walks away from his dinner, and Iroh's like, are you going to eat that? He's like, I'm saving it for later. Just like, okay. But yeah, I just, you know, that's why I always thought that it was like a few days. Like
I did too.
3, 4, like maybe even a week. But no, they've been there for a day. And this has already happened. And they didn't know where he was at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, this is
they talk fast.
Yeah. Well, and also whatever transports these guys are using.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get the word out like to everyone like that?
I don't know. I mean, I will say I again think that this makes much more sense if it had been 3 days at the very least.
Yeah.
But no, they specifically say that they've been there. Katara says, we've already been here for a day. I think, you know, we should move on. And then at the end of that day, they are, you know, attacked by Zuko. But, you know, as I was saying before with Aang, You know, he keeps trying to impress Katara. Katara doesn't really want to have anything to do with his antics or his shenanigans. And I don't think that it's that she's not interested in Aang, in however you want to put that. It's more just that he's showboating, and that's not what she's interested in right now.
Yeah.
But I will
be like associated with the annoying little fangirls.
Yes.
And
it's like, okay, you are now, like, you want to get my attention, that's fine, but you're now putting me in the same box as these, you know, these, as you say, fangirls.
Mhm.
That's not the relationship that we have.
Yeah.
That's not who I am to you. And so I get that. I will say, though, they have an interaction where basically Aang, specifically for the purpose of trying to get Katara to stop him and or come watch him, tells her that he is about to ride the dangerous animal that made him do the weird anime run. And Katara's response is this.
Good for you.
It's just so, yeah, good for you. Yay. Just like, yeah, I don't care. Just, eventually this storyline comes full circle, and Katara's like, I'm sorry that I wasn't giving you attention, but you were being an asshole. And Aang's like, yes, I'm sorry, I was being an asshole.
Yep.
And I wanted, I mean, that's because they do kind of an interesting thing here. Like I said, in the last couple of episodes, we've really kind of had a protagonist storyline and an antagonist storyline. Well, this time they kind of split. Sokka gets his own storyline here. And we still get not a lot from Zuko and Iroh, especially not compared to the last episode, but we get a little bit of seeing where they are, where they come from before they come and attack Kyoshi Island.
Yeah, I have a lot of notes for this episode to begin with. I mentioned opening with Zuko, and that's the last mention I have of it. I know they continue to appear in the episode. I know they attack.
Yeah.
Not much of note really happens.
Yeah, Sokka kind of takes that.
I was about to say, honestly, that's kind of why I've already touched on what's going on with Aang and Katara. And really, as much as happens with Sokka, or sorry, not Sokka. I don't know why I keep mixing up Sokka and Zuko. But as much as happens with Zuko, basically, they find out they're on Kyoshi Island. They come attack Kyoshi Island, and then Aang, stops them from attacking Kyoshi Island, and then they run away. And at the end, Aang uses the Unagi. He does eventually learn how to ride it, but he uses the Unagi to basically put out the fires and everything that were caused by the attack. But
I will say the one thing about having this episode, I guess, be fourth, and why I'm glad it was not the first episode to follow the pilot, is that if this had been the format of the first episode to follow the pilot, I would have felt very dispirited, because like my question would be like, is this going to be the format of this series going forward? They go to a new place. Somehow Zuko gets word of where they are. Zuko attacks. They fend him off, and they flee to another location. It's like, is that just going to be episode after episode of that?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. That does kind of seem like honestly, that is a type of series format that a lot of shows have followed. It's like,
the old Incredible Hulk series was kind of like that.
I was about to say that's basically, those types of shows.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see how that could, be disheartening if you think, well, is this going to be the rest of the show? I will say, though, there's a reason that I've saved the Sokka storyline to talk about last, because it's my favorite part of this episode.
Mine too.
Because like I said, we are pretty much introduced to the fact that Sokka's being kind of an asshole, and we have been confronted with this in at least 2 episodes, that he has some pretty backwards ideas of the place of men and women. and what roles they should fulfill, and they're very old school, traditional, and which is pretty messed up. And I feel like this episode is here, number one, to kind of, and I'm not gonna say cure, because I can't guarantee that some of these things aren't ever going to come back. Obviously, Sokka's human; he can still, evolution takes a while, but we are going to, it's like, okay, we established this as part of his character. We want to show pretty quickly that that's not where this character is going to stay. And I think that's really the point of this episode, is to kind of evolve Sokka.
Give him some growth, because if he stayed that same the whole time, it would just be like, oh my gosh, another.
It would get really annoying, really tiresome, really fast. And so, we are introduced to a new character, Suki.
I love Suki.
Who is, she is the leader of the Kyoshi Warriors. She is, I've always, like I said, I've always seen Sokka as around 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
I think Suki is maybe just a little bit younger, maybe 14, 15, but maybe even closer to Katara's age. But I don't think that there's they could also be the same age.
For some reason, I always thought Suki might be like a tiny bit older than Sokka.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I guess because she leads the warriors.
I think that just shows that she's a strong person. Yeah. I don't think that really has much to do with her age.
Gotcha. But I definitely see her as older than Katara.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I definitely, I agree with that. Older than Katara. But yeah, it's just, I always assumed she was maybe a little bit younger than Sokka. You always assumed she was a little bit older. We'll split the difference and say they're about the same age.
We'll just say they're the same age. Yeah.
I had no assumptions either way, but I'm gonna run with the notion that Sokka's just into older women, so she's older.
He would be into older women.
He absolutely would be. So yeah, that's it.
But yeah, so Suki pretty quickly shows that she's a strong warrior, and that she's not gonna take Sokka's shit.
Yep.
And Sokka is immediately kind of on the back foot, and he feels very he's feeling very insecure about the fact that he was beaten up by a group of women. Mm-hmm. And they get there's this great scene, which I'm going to play a bit of here, right?
He's just upset because a bunch of girls kicked his butt yesterday.
They snuck up on me.
Right. And then they kicked your
Oh, okay. So
and then they kicked your butt.
And then they kicked your butt. Yeah, of course it left out the best part of the last line. But yes, then they kicked his butt. And like I said, he can't take that. He's just so insecure that he cannot take the fact that he was beaten up by a group of girls. So he goes to, basically what he's trying to do at this point is now get his power back. He's trying to prove that, they only got the drop on him because, he wasn't prepared, he wasn't ready, all this kind of stuff. And he's just like, can I hang out with you guys? I don't want to, make you guys feel, inadequate or anything, just basically just pouring on the sexism and all of this stuff. And Suki pretty quickly proves, no, it's not that we beat you because we had the jump on you. It's because we have training and we're better than you are. And
real training, not just dad showed me how to do this.
Right. And, back when I was 8, and then I taught myself. It is, that they really kind of, like I said, Suki is not taking any of his shit.
Yeah.
And, he you know, is trying to kind of prove his superiority, and he's pretty quickly knocked on his ass. You know, they do a little bit of sparring, and she literally, honestly, it took me a while to see it. It wasn't until this last time I noticed she takes his belt off and hog ties him with it, and then shoves him out the door in one like quick movement. Like, and it like the way that it's done, like a lot of the martial arts or a lot of the action in this is done, it's done in physical movements that make sense, and it like it really works. And yeah, they totally just knock Sokka and on his ass, and basically it's the show saying, okay, Sokka, you have the choice. Are you going to continue being an asshole, or are you going to take this opportunity to realize that your thoughts are wrong here, and maybe you can learn something from this? And to Sokka's credit, he you know, he tries to be better, and has actually a really good scene where he genuinely apologizes. And I just honestly, it's one of my favorite scenes that I've seen so far. The combination of him being knocked down a peg and then literally humbling himself and realizing, you know what? I was wrong. You have something you can teach me. Will you please teach me? I will say they then do kind of haze him just a little bit lightly by saying, sure, we will, but you have to follow all of our traditions, which includes wearing the same things that we wear. Which, to me, I mean, yes, I know that they're being worn by a group of women, but they don't look that quote unquote girly.
Yeah,
in my
they
opinion.
look girly. They definitely look heavy and uncomfortable, which would be why they're training in it, because it makes them a whole lot stronger.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, Sokka does. He wears their dress, as it's called later. And he starts to learn. I mean, obviously he's not there long enough to actually fully learn their technique, but he does, you know, he gets a little lucky against Suki, and, you know, Suki immediately proves that he got lucky. But I start to see this fun little flirtation between them, and I just really enjoy this part of the episode.
Yeah, I like her showing him how to like use the fan and treat it as like an extension of your body, because that's how you do like any kind of weapon training. Is you don't think of it as separately. It's just like, oh, this is just continuing my body.
Sure.
I like that you put it this part of the episode, because I liked that part of the episode.
Okay.
Once Suka is kind of training with Suki, and their rapport at that point, and him learning the ropes of it all, that I liked.
Okay.
The first half of the episode, y'all appear apparently considerably more warm on than I was, because I wrote down this feels sitcom-y and Disney Channel-esque. It felt like this sort of just like, what, a group of girls beat me, and then he tries to go back and fight him again, and they beat him again, and then he's, you know, down to the comic beat you describe. It's just like, I'll do whatever, and then they just smash cut to, what am I having to wear? It all feels like something out of like a Hannah Montana episode. Well,
I mean, again, you got to remember, this is Nick. I mean, you say Disney. This is Nickelodeon. Yeah.
But if I'm going into this expecting something that is, you know, for children, fine. If I'm expecting something a little above that, sure. The beats, it was, like I said earlier, this had the risk to be like a formulaic setup of just like Fire Nation attacks, they fend off, they flee, combined with Disney Channel plot. But I genuinely did like it. Like I said, what was set up for the remaining half of it, I checked because I was curious who voiced Suki. Turns out I did not recognize her voice. She's voiced by Jenny Kwan, who I was very entertained to learn one of her first voice acting gigs was voicing Audrey in the Little Shop cartoon.
Yes.
The very short-lived cartoon. But of course, looking that up on whatever Avatar wiki it was told me she returns, which did not surprise me. Again, I expected they're going to be exploring this world and going to setting up these characters they're going to be returning at some point. You know, so yeah, I like the latter part of this episode much more than the latter part of their plot line than the first.
Sure.
The attack honestly still was just roast.
I mean, I will say I actually enjoy pretty much all of. I mean, like I said, I like that we see Sokka, you know, try to be big man and then he gets knocked down. I think that that's fun. I will say I think that the Katara Aang storyline is kind of Disney Channel. I think that that's a little, you know, silly.
I admit that sounds very silly. That barely even registered with me as a plot line.
Sure.
I just kind of forgot that existed.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, when I think about this episode, I think mostly about the Sokka Suki stuff.
No, I do. Yeah, exactly.
Why I resonate with it so much. I mean, I honestly don't mind the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
But it also is not the stuff that I really think about in association with this episode. It's mostly the Sokka Suki stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, we kind of, you know, we jumped around a little bit. We've kind of talked about the whole episode. Is there anything else particularly in this episode that you guys wanted to talk about before we move on?
I had a couple.
Suki kisses Sokka.
Oh yes, we did. I did forget to mention that. Like I said, there's a flirtation between them, which honestly, because of the relationship that we've seen between them, of, you know, her putting him in his place, him, you know, genuinely apologizing, and then them having like a fun flirtation, it feels like a real relationship rather than just, oh, you're cute, want to be my boyfriend? You know,
yeah, they like actually get to know each other and respect each other.
Again, that's what I liked about the latter half of the episode. I had a couple of things. I should have worked these in when we were on topic with them earlier. One, what you were saying about like them hopping all around geographically, I find that funny because like it felt like in the last episode, Aang knew precisely where they were headed. Like they're going to the Southern Air Temple,
right?
Nope. That's where they land. And in the next episode, they very specifically go to what is it? Omashu. Yeah, they get it. This episode feels like they just stumble across this island and did not expect it to be there.
Well, like it was their destination. He just wasn't sure where the koi fish were.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That also I wrote down here and didn't think of this earlier when you said that Kyoshi was the avatar before Roku.
Yes.
But I wrote down Kyoshi was born 400 years ago. Because they say that. I suppose this turns out that Kyoshi and Roku were pretty long-lived then.
Kyoshi, I mean, I think you find out about it more in the supplementary material. But Kyoshi was very long-lived. I think she lived about 200 years.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, between the two of them, they had to live just under 300 years. So,
yeah.
So that would explain it.
Well, I mean, I mean, like, you know, obviously 100 years is accounted for because that's how long Aang was in the iceberg. But Kyoshi was very long-lived.
Okay, that works. And the third thing I have is just rhino badgers. Because the Fire Nation appears to be riding rhino badgers, and I thought those were cool.
Yeah,
they're cute.
Well,
there's some really cool animal hybrids in this.
Yep. Yeah. That's what you're gonna have a stuffed animal next time to just accompany your
exactly.
There you go. Yeah. I will say I noted here that there's a point at which, because we didn't really mention the Kyoshi warriors, one of their main weapons. I mean, I think Amanda mentioned it really quick. It's a fan. At one point, Aang uses a fan, and I'm just like, that seems like the perfect weapon for an airbender. Why is that not part of his equipment? And I don't think he brings it back.
Oh, that's a pity.
No, I don't think he does.
Right? I'm just like, that seems like the perfect weapon for an airbender. Why is he not just always, you know, hurling around fans?
That is a very good question. Very good point.
I mean, you could argue that his glider is kind of a giant fan.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not as handy as like a handheld.
A little like pocket fan that you take out and just like blow it.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah, he could put a razor edge on it, just like whip it through the air and decapitate guys. Yeah.
Yes, because Aang is all about decapitating guys.
Yep.
You know,
that's only because he does not have a razor tip fan.
I also wrote down these are the first real hints at and I honestly cannot remember if there is a couple name for Katara and Aang, but I wrote down Katang.
That works. Sure.
Katang, I like that.
Because the only other one I can think of is Ankara.
That sounds like
I'm gonna look up and see what the official shipping name is.
Yeah. I think Katang makes the most sense.
Yeah. I think Ankara is a city in Turkey.
Katang.
Let's go with Katang.
It is Katang. Okay.
Katang.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, obviously it's still in very immature format, but this is the first that we, because like I said, Aang spends the entire episode just trying to get Katara's attention. Yeah, that's got to be for a reason. But yeah, if that is it, then let us go ahead and let us move now to our segments. So we're going to start first with a segment we like to call My Cabbages Moment. So this is, of course, the part of the episode where we talk about our favorite or most interesting scene of the episode. So Loren, why don't you go ahead and give us what is your My Cabbages moment?
Well, you kind of stole my thunder on this earlier, but it's the portrait scene with the artist trying to draw Aang, and as each time he lifts up his easel, they're just they're just more kids in the frame. Yeah,
I just introduced it. It's fine. I mean, yeah, honestly, that's like I think one of the funniest moments of the episode. I think that bit is a lot of fun because you can really see the artist like just getting. Because at first he's just like, oh, more kids. Okay, let me just add in. Okay, there's more and more girls. I haven't even drawn the avatar yet, and oh my god, I'm done. I'm done.
Gets up, walks away. He's done. Yeah.
All right, Amanda, what is your My Cabbages moment?
Suki kissing Sokka.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's not like it's a big, like breathy kiss or anything.
Yeah, I know, but it was cute, and
it's a sweet moment,
and then it was just enough to get Sokka like.
Well, and it's a symbol of kind of the growth that Sokka has gone through in this episode, because I think it's safe to say this is probably Sokka's first girlfriend. Or first kiss, or first.
She's not his girlfriend yet, though.
I realized I was like, it's probably too soon to say girlfriend.
Yeah, his first romantic interest that took interest in him.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Mutual romantic interest. There we go.
Yes,
like they had mutual respect for each other, so I like that.
Right.
And it was
because I mean, number one, I didn't see a lot of girls Sokka's age at the Southern Water Tribe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He spends a lot of time. He also spends a lot of time in the bathroom of his igloo.
Given the size of the Water Tribe, not only are there very few females prospects there, most of them, given the size of that crowd, probably relatively closely related to him.
Yeah. So Sokka has not had a lot of opportunities.
Poor Sokka.
All right. So mine is, and I mean I know it's like a good chunk of the episode, but it's the whole Sokka storyline. Just with him getting humbled and then his apology, and that whole thing that he has with Suki. I think that it was just a really strong strong part of the, I mean, like I said, it's my favorite part of the episode. So I had a hard time not just giving it to that whole thing. So there we go. All right. So now let us talk about the Mako Award, which is, of course, what we give to our favorite or most interesting character from the episode. So Amanda, we'll start with you this time. Who are you giving your Mako Award to?
Oh, absolutely Suki. She's one of my favorites in the whole series.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I mean, you know, again, you and I, Amanda, seem to be on the same wavelength with a lot of these. Yeah, Suki. I mean, I thought for a second about giving it to Suki and Sokka. But honestly, I think that I want to give it to just Suki because it's Suki being who she is that turns Sokka around. And without Suki, we wouldn't have the Sokka that we come to, you know, at least hopefully appreciate more down the line. So yeah, I agree. Suki is gets my Mako Award.
What is the couple's name for their ship, by the way?
Is it Saki? That's what it should be.
I was about to say, I think that might be it.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise it'd be Sokka.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Saki. I think that makes more sense.
Okay. I think so. My choice for the Mako Award, I had written down, honestly, because again, I was underwhelmed, was just after my my Cabbages moment being the portrait scene, the portrait artist. Okay. Frustration. But no, to be perfectly honest, while a lot of the storyline halfway through didn't do much for me, I did like the setup of Suki. I look forward to seeing her again in an episode that's not this one. Sure. And so no, we'll just make it a trifecta. I'll just say Suki as well.
Well, and I have to say, I think that, you know, like you said, this is the type of show that you do expect characters to come back. But, you know, after watching this episode, I want her to come back.
Yeah.
Like I look forward to the next time that we will see Suki.
No, what it does in the last half to third of the episode sets her up, I think, for returning appearances and the Warriors of Kyoshi in general. And she has, you know, she's established some kind of relationship with Suga. So yeah, I'd like to see that developed in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I will say they also, I think, do a good job of explaining why she doesn't just immediately join the team. She obviously has responsibilities here.
Yep.
And she's good at her job.
Exactly. Exactly.
Their ship name is called Sokka.
Sokka.
Okay, so it's the other one that I said that I didn't think was nearly as good.
I like Saki better.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I say we make a we start a trend to change it.
Deal.
Saki.
Saki.
Yeah. Saki.
Just start editing the wiki.
So hashtag Saki.
That's right.
Hashtag Saki.
Hashtag Saki.
That's the title of this episode. Hashtag Saki.
Hashtag Saki. Yeah. All right. All right. So yeah, that is the episode. And so we want to go ahead and let people know. Oh, wait, sorry. We have one more thing to do. We have to rate this episode on the Avatar State Meter. You can rate it anywhere from 1 to 5. Obviously, 5 being the best, full power. 4, you know, pretty close. 3, right in the middle. 2, not great. 1, fatal blow. Could very well destroy the show. Who knows? But I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna have Amanda go first because I have a feeling that Loren's gonna differ from where we are. So let's see if we can sandwich this here. All right, go ahead, Amanda.
Hard. I'm gonna give it, I guess, maybe a 4.5 because it's high up there for me. It's one of my favorites.
All right, Loren.
All right, so I think I'm gonna again, early on in the series, hard to know what I'm gauging this against.
Sure.
But I'm gonna veer a little bit on the high side here and say 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's higher than you gave the pilot.
Pilot, no. Well, in the end, I went back and forth on that. In the end, I think I gave the pilot 2.5.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I have here on my page, I wrote down 2, but
Sure.
honestly, thinking about again, latter part of the episode, some of the strengths here. Sure. Again, I don't have much to gauge it against. I'll go ahead and just say 2.5. And just see how it goes from here.
All right. Well, I am honestly at first I was giving this a 4.5, but I know that there are episodes coming up that are so much better than any of this stuff. So I'm kind of trying to temper my rating. So I'm gonna give this a 4.
Okay.
Because I do really like this, but Loren does bring up good points that there are parts of this episode that are a little silly, that aren't exactly as strong as the parts that stick out to me the most.
I was gonna say, I do hope for future episodes are a lot better than this.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think that this is a pretty good episode, so I'm gonna give this a 4. All right, and I mean, we'll go ahead and we'll ask, even though I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Loren, has this done anything to change your opinion, or is it your new favorite show?
I mean, you asked me to whether this was in my top 500 shows ever, like before this episode. So,
yeah,
having now seen this episode, it's I mean, it's still solidly in the top 1,000. I'll give it that. Yeah.
All right. So we'll have to keep working on him, Amanda. Have to keep
working
on him.
We'll get there.
All right, but we want to go ahead and let people know how they can get into contact with us. So of course you can contact us at the Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com. Make sure to check out all of our other shows, the YouTube channel, the Patreon, patreon.com/theflyingcow. Make sure to like, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And let us know how you are enjoying the show. Comment, everything like that. Amanda, Loren, what do you guys have going on?
Well, you can always find me on Twitch at Panda Princessa playing some fun video games, and then on Twitter at Amanda Van Heil, and then on Zelda Universe TV on YouTube, where I talk about Zelda.
Imagine that on Zelda TV.
On Zelda Universe TV, I talk about Zelda. And then I just show up at conventions and talk about it also.
Well, there you go. All right. Loren.
Find me on Twitter, which I'm not going to call it by Elon Musk's preferred name.
Nope.
Loren Collins.
Refuse.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure precisely when this episode is going to drop, but if you're in the local Atlanta area, it may be dropping just before my final weekend of Little Shop of Horrors at the Henry Players down in McDonough. Come support live theater if you can.
Yeah. All right. But yes, we want to like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let us know what you're thinking about it. But we want to thank you for listening, watching, all of those things. And we will be back next time talking about the next episode of this, the King of Omashu. So make sure to check that out. But until that time, moo.
Mm.